So Tom Grossi didn't return my phone calls. So we are going to do the show without him. Hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and welcome back. We are continuing, not concluding just yet. We are continuing the NFC North review of the 2024 NFL season, and we're going to be talking about Green Bay Packers, a team that a lot of people felt very confident, even I did, that this could be another great season. But the glaring weaknesses of the Packers' legacy, going as far back as Aaron Rodgers, showed up again. No one to receive them balls. So let's talk about the Packers and see what a season of potential looked like when reality hurts. So the Green Bay Packers season came in with high expectations that a lot of people on the love train, nothing innuendo about that, but just on the love train of Jordan Love becoming not just another great Green Bay Packer quarterback, because curse is all, says Cleveland, but just the notion that, they're going to be, the more superior team, that maybe they are in the similar categories. We were so high on the supply of the Packers that when reality struck, it was much more difficult to find excuses and much easier just to say the truth. The truth is the Green Bay Packers season did not meet expectations, even though I personally had them as high as a 12-5 season and as low as an 8-9. The 8-9 was going to be more if they just happened to lose a game at the worst possible time. Henceforth, the last game of the season against Chicago, because if they would have beaten Chicago last game of the season, oh, lo and behold, they would have been 12-5, which therefore my prediction would have been right, and therefore I would have had another victory lap, just going, yeah, I was right, yes. But didn't, because Chicago had to ruin my dreams. So they went to, sadly, a very respectable 11-6. Respectable, not strong, but respectable. But the biggest factor I felt like for the Green Bay Packers was that Jordan Love's success was predicated on the progression of the receiving core. And boy, very much like the Texans, they get hit with one of the more severe bug of just wide receiver collapse, injuries, inadequacy, unplay. The only success I felt like the Packers did have, honestly, was Jacobs, the running back acquisition, which even I was like, you had Aaron Jones? Dylan's fine? Why Jacobs? And why give him, a big hunk of cash? And Jacobs says, shut up, watch me do my thing. And he did, and I shut up. To the point where I felt like it was going to be on the feet. This season, mind you, Derrick Henry going to the Ravens. Barkley win a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Bucky Irvin, the running back rookie, what he did in Tampa. The Bucks went from last place rushing to top 4, top 7. They were one of the better rushing attacks offense out there. There's been a lot of more positive stories of running backs and Jacobs here going to other teams or even being drafted and making noise to the point where it's like, are we sure we are discrediting running backs? Because this year felt a very strong, especially for the teams that were good, like Derrick Henry in Tennessee, Barkley with the Giants when he was healthy, of course, and of course Jacobs with the Raiders, that just because they go to another team doesn't it? I mean, Sonic and Knuckles is basically what the Lions call the running back tandem. So it just feels that this season probably made us at least appreciate running backs a little bit more, and maybe don't just say, yeah, anybody can run the ball. Let's give our receiver and quarterback, another $60 million and hope to God they don't break their fibula and therefore we're screwed. Or worse, they get an ego the size of that paycheck and then we're screwed. So this season felt more like a running back appreciation season, and merely a reminder saying, hey, we're running backs. Don't treat us like crap. We're not kickers. Okay, that was kind of harsh. But the Green Bay Packers season success, I feel like, was on the legs of Josh Jacobs, and he felt like he was more so the reason, especially when the receiving core was a little bit injury prone or inconsistent. They were. The defense of the Green Bay, I felt like, was going to be the bright spot. I just never got that same like, yeah, Green Bay defense. It felt more like, yeah, it's there. It's there. I mean, Jair Alexander was MIA for most of the season, even when he was playing, if he did play. That's how much I don't remember if he was playing. But yeah, so I don't know what the Green Bay Packers are going to do defensively side, but I felt like the success was on the legs and thigh muscles of Josh Jacobs. And Jordan Love doing the best he can with a receiving core that was needed to be better, to match the season it was. And they got in and it showed, especially while the receiving core got out in the playoffs against a clearly superior team. Your best game for Green Bay, I'm going to give it to you to Week 7 versus the Houston Texans. The biggest reason I'm giving this one is this was a very early litmus test, in my opinion, to seeing, okay, Jordan Love in his first year starting, well, how you do? CJ Stroud, your first year starting. Okay, let's see what you guys do in your next year after you guys, showcase the world that, hey, we're the next young faces of quarterbacks in the NFL. Let's see what you guys do. And the game was really good. I kind of felt like the Texans probably could have, been a little bit more aggressive. Green Bay was more like a strategic strategist. They were not trying to go for the kill shot. They were just strategically moving the ball down the field and playing to what they got instead of trying to make plays. The Texans felt like they were just trying to find some. I mean, CJ Stroud had 10 completions for 86 yards, while Love was throwing the ball all over the place, even throwing 2 interceptions to the Texans to give them any sense of hope. And of course, the biggest success was Jacobs' 12 carries, 76 yards, to match Joe Mixon's 115-yard carries and 2 rushing touchdowns. So the rushing attack was more effective for the Texans as it wasn't the quarterback, duel that we all thought was going to be in a 24-22 victory. This was a way to showcase the Packers are ready to take on much more superior opponents in the upcoming NFL season, and being the Texans, it was very early, but it's still a good test to say, hey, we don't need time to get ready prepared because we already prepared and we're getting ready for the bigger opponents in our own division because that's where the fight is. So to me, that is their best game. The worst game took place Week 17 at Minnesota. Now, this was Minnesota's best game, so kind of a little bit of the notes in case some of you did not watch the video. That game, the Vikings basically had almost 3/4 of just pure dominance, even though the scoreboard was kind of it's not really a blowout, but it's still kind of out of reach. And then Green Bay woke up, took a sense of being, got slapped in the ass. I don't know what happened. And they made a game of it. And basically, they were just a few minutes away and basically one incompletion away from potentially getting the ball back and probably could have stolen the game from the Vikings and therefore making the Detroit Vikings last game of the season basically mean nothing. Honestly, probably nothing. But that to me was a game of, okay, so when the Packers are on, they get on it. But when the Packers have a sluggish start or they're slow to get ready, they can be fire, but sometimes that fire doesn't burn fast enough as they run out of time to make any type of marks. So this to me is the worst game, more so than the Chicago game. Yes, they lost to the Bears for the first time in a half a millennia. But this one was more of man, you guys really want to give yourself confidence going into the playoffs by beating the Viking team, and basically, making Viking fans cry should be one of the pleasures of being a Packer fan. That and making Bears fans knowing that you own them, and making Lions fans be remembered as, who are you again? So, Packers, that's the worst game, because it just felt man, if you guys would just woken up a quarter earlier, even though you guys had a slow start, probably could have had a better win in this one. I mean, they scored 22 points in the second half, 15 in the fourth. They were coming back with a vengeance, and they're on the road. So, yeah, to me, that's the worst game. I mean, I can see some Packer fans saying with the loss to Chicago at home. Yeah, I can see that too. That's more of an embarrassing game, not the worst loss. Your MVP for me goes to the man with the big thighs and the hard running, Jacobs, the running back. This guy nearly had 1,400 yards. He had 15 rushing touchdowns, over 4.4 yards a carry, including over 300 attempt running the ball. Full season, never lackluster, averaging nearly 80 yards a game. This guy was the return of the workhorse. I feel like Jacob was more of a bell cow workhorse running back than what Barkley was to Philadelphia. I think Barkley had a little bit more athleticism on the outside. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jacobs did still have his catches, but he only had 43 and only one touchdown to go with it. But to me, Jacobs was the epitome of give me the ball, find me a gap in between, and let me just wear defense down. And the best thing is, the more they wear down, the stronger I get. He was literally the juggernaut for the Packers. JJ Juggernaut should have been like his catchphrase. He was that impact on the Packers rushing attack. And I feel like he was the reason why the Packers probably won most of the game, is because he wore down defenses. Even in the early quarters, he wore down defense. So when the fourth quarter comes, they're already worn down. He just runs them over as if they're nothing. To me, Jacobs is the Green Bay Packers MVP. The grade for the Packers. We all knew you were going to go to the playoffs. Some were even saying further than that. I said I still like Detroit more than you, but I always said you guys number 2. Turned out you have to be number 3. So my apologies. You see, it wasn't a failure, but I wouldn't say it was a success as much. I kind of feel like, what Jordan Love did was more impactful the year before. This one, I felt like you had expectations. So even though you guys made the playoffs and you guys got plagued with injuries by the receiving corps at the worst by basically putting, very limited time playing receivers to try to win a playoff game on the road, I'm not going to give you guys success, but I am going to give you better luck next time. I'm going to give you that type of score for the biggest reason is that I just feel that better luck next time when you're much more healthier. When you're healthier in the receiving corps, and probably if you get someone to help with that receiving corps problem, that probably be the bigger solution. So it wasn't a failure, but we all knew a playoff season was already in the future. We had no doubt about it. And you kind of guys got there similar way, then you got hot at the end and you got in. So, and now I no disrespect, but your division record wasn't that strong either. I mean, this was the first time where I seen you guys had losses to the Vikings and the Bears in the same season. Then, of course, you got, the Lions sweeping you. So it just was not a good division win. There were 6 wins there that you guys could at least hopefully par, but you didn't. But you guys still won 11 games. So that's something that's impressive. But better luck next time. Your draft picks, who I'm looking into, very similar. I want to go defense. I know I've been hopping a receiver, and the reason why I didn't hop receiver is because Green Bay has never won draft receiver in the first round, so I'm not going to be the one who tried to jinx it this year. But very similar to the Vikings, focus on defense. Barron and Rebel Jr. from their respective Texas and East Carolina. But for some reason, I'm sensing what if? What if they do a pick that I see a lot of people projecting to be a late first rounder, and I think maybe he's a lot more athletic, and that is Jack Sawyer, the edge from Ohio State. Sorry, wrong. Ohio State. And the biggest reason is what he did against Texas, and you feel like, okay, he's a little bit more athletic than we thought, and then what he did against Michigan. And I'm thinking, I think he's a little bit more athletic than we thought, and I feel like a good pass rush can help a secondary that may be faltering on an identity crisis. And I still feel there's a lot of good defensive back that could potentially be available later, whether in trades, before the draft, or during the draft, or even in the draft. I feel there's plenty of them. And I just can't help but feel like Jack Sawyer is kind of like, he's good, but you don't want to wait a first round pick on him, but he'll be gone probably early in the second round, probably like before the first 15 picks of the second round. And a good pass rusher helps out a weak secondary. So wild card, Jack Sawyer from Ohio State, the edge. That's what I think. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Green Bay Packers season. Disappointment, I know. And Tom Grassi has not returned any of my phone calls. Have I tried calling him? Not even once, but the joke is there. So we're going to conclude the NFC North by talking about the Detroit Lions. And man, the way it ended just kind of felt like being kicked in the nards. Sorry, Lions fans, but we're going to talk about you. And there's no golden ring to help out Knuckles and Sonic this time. We have to address it. But then again, you do have excuses. And excuses sometimes work is better than apologies. So until next time, I'm Cortez. And I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.